In this video, I'm going to briefly go over 100 different personal values which you might want to consider for your life. I rank these values on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I don't care about it, 5 being I care a lot about it, and I'm going to go into a little brief detail as to why I prioritize it. So the thing I care about the least right now is power, to have control over others. I don't like the idea of imposing myself onto others. So yeah, let's go. Then fame as well, to be known and recognized, don't care. These two almost go hand in hand. I've observed enough of it in my own life to know that that's not what I care about. Popularity, to be well liked by many people, kind of goes hand in hand with fame. Pleasure, to feel good. The reason I don't value this one as much is not that I want to feel bad, but if I only pursue wanting to feel good, I might be missing out on, maybe prioritizing a more fulfilling life down the line if I only want to feel good in the moment. Patriotism, to love, serve and protect my country. Not that I don't enjoy England or love England, but it's very difficult to be patriotic in this world considering just the politics of different countries and how they all run. It's very difficult to take pride in a lot of things. Novelty, to have a life full of change and variety. I think I've experienced enough novelty in different regards in my life for me to realize it's not fulfilling. So yeah, excitement, to have a life full of thrills and stimulation. Like a lot of people, they will put this as their top priority to finding happiness in life, and I think I want to find the normal things of life fulfilling as opposed to all the novelty and the exciting things. I feel like if I tried to pursue a life of excitement and I didn't find fulfillment through it, I think I end up devaluing the excitement that life has to offer. Authority, to be in charge of others, kind of like power, but instead of having control over others, it's being in charge. There's a value later in the list which sort of falls similarly to authority, which I prefer, so I'll get to that one later. Achievement, to have important accomplishments. The reason I put achievement low on this list is not that achievement isn't important, but if I say that I want achievement and I don't get it, I'm probably going to end up feeling quite disappointed. World peace, to work to promote peace in the world. Now this is obviously a very important thing. For a lot of people they would put that higher. I just find that I need to focus on myself as an individual first before I start going out and trying to change the world, trying to get my own house in order, let's say. So because of that, I do know that world peace is going to be something that I focus on later. And a lot of this list is alphabetical, but I do give certain ones that I value at 3, 4 and 5 out of 5 higher on the list, so I'll get to those. Wealth, to have plenty of money. I believe that anyone who's kind of stuck right now thinking that they need money to be happy is going to miss out on the beauty and the experience of life without having that as a priority. I find it important, which is why I give it a 3 out of 5, but I don't think it's the grounding value that I should be pursuing if I want to find fulfillment. Money gives a lot of opportunity, but I think if you can't appreciate what you've got that can be provided in your life without money, without wealth, yeah, then you're missing out on the experience of life. So I think you've got to appreciate what you've already got, no matter how rich or poor you are. Tradition, to follow respected patterns of the past. Now this is one that I think I'm going to grow to appreciate more and more as I get older. As it stands right now, as a 23-year-old, heading towards 24, there are some traditions which I think are definitely valuable and important to have in life, but there are lots that I still feel kind of need to be maybe a bit updated, I'd say, for our modern day and age. So it's in the middle. Tolerance, to accept and respect those who differ from me. There's no reason for me to put this any lower on the list, but I also don't feel a reason to put it any higher on the list. Again, I'm a bit self-oriented at the moment, wanting to improve myself before I focus on collectively helping everyone else, the tribe, the population, everyone around me. Solitude, to have time and space where I can be apart from others. I feel like I get enough of that already. Sexuality, to have an active and satisfying sex life. I feel like that's just going to happen when I get a relationship, so I'm not too worried about it at the moment. Service, to be helpful and of service to others, like I said about individuality. Safety, to be safe and secure. You don't want to be too safe. You don't want to be too safe, because if you're too safe, then you're not strong. So there's a degree of safety which I think is already built into me, whether it's overprotective parents or always being able to anticipate hurt or damage or risk before bad events happen. I feel like I need to sometimes step out of my comfort zone, which is why I don't put safety any higher. Romance, to have intense, exciting love in my life. I think there's going to be a degree of romance in my life when I enter a relationship, so I'm not too worried and I'm not actively seeking it. And I also know that a lot of people can end up feeling disappointed if their life isn't a romantic, idyllic vision of what a relationship is. And a lot of people, they only cycle through the honeymoon phase of each relationship before moving to the next one. As soon as a relationship becomes boring, they move on to another one to enjoy a new honeymoon phase. So I feel like only pursuing romance can be damaging. Risk, to take risks and chances, part of that safety. Realism, to see and act realistically and practically, that's more about being grounded in reality. Rationality goes almost hand in hand, to be guided by reason, logic and evidence, so it's more like, grounded in logical evidence. To protect and keep safe those that I love. Protecting is important. I think more important than that one is one which I'll cover later, so I'll get to that one. Because there's only so much I can do to protect those around me. I've got to let them have their own lives. I can't be overprotective. I know from my own personal experience how that stops a person from fully maturing and developing themselves. Practicality, to focus on what is practical, prudent and sensible. Yep, falls into the same ones as rationality and realism. Openness, to be open to new experience, ideas and options. I know I've got a mind that's naturally in tune to that, so I don't feel like I need to actively seek it more. And then there's nurturance, to encourage and support others. Non-conformity, to question and challenge authority and norms. Yeah, I mean, there's a degree of it that I do right now, but I also question how much of a change can I actually make? How non-conformal can I be? And what sort of change can I actually do? So it's something that I'll probably do more in the future. I'll probably challenge authority more when I've got a better understanding of life and a better grounding. Leisure, to take time to relax and enjoy. I think that's going to just happen naturally in my life as soon as I cover the more important values later in the list. Leadership, to inspire and guide others. That's the one that I would put over the authority that was lower in the list. Leadership to me is a better idea. Instead of, ordering people what to do or controlling people to do what they do, inspiring and guiding them. Much better way to frame it. Justice, promote fair and equal treatment for all. It'd be dumb to put this any lower on the list, but I'm also not there, all justice, Batman style, trying to enforce it in the world. So, yeah, I'm not a social justice warrior, I'm afraid. Imagination, to have dreams and see possibilities, very much connected to my openness. I've got that already. Humour, to see the humorous side of myself and the world. I feel like I could be more humorous, but everyone's got their own sense of humour, so I try not to bash myself too much for not being as funny as I feel like I could be. I also feel like a degree of it happens naturally as I find my way in life. Growth, to keep changing and growing. That's just going to be a constant. We're not static. Some things in life you do want to keep static. You do want to set yourself certain parameters, certain goals. Certain things to measure towards getting to the goals, but within those parameters then you're allowed to grow. So there's always an element of growth. God's will, seek and obey the will of God. I do plan at some point in my life to read the major religious texts, Torah, Bible, Quran, Vedas, Buddhist texts, all of the massive ancient religious texts which guide, let's say, 90% of people's beliefs. So if they're religious, if I can read all the text that connects my current understanding if I can get to a grounded understanding that allows me to conversate and relate to people of all different backgrounds, I do want to read all the religious texts. And with that, I might start believing more in God. I don't know. I feel when I was 15, I became more atheist. Well, I just became atheist. I became more rational. I became very if there's no scientific evidence for God's existence, why even try? Is what I thought. Now as I get older, I realise that there's a degree of spirituality we need in our lives. So God's will probably be a higher priority later in my life, and I put it as a 3 out of 5 because I'm no longer dismissing the importance of it as I used to since the age of 15 till about recently, 22, 23. Generosity, to give what I have to others. This is a very important one, and I think out of all the things that I can do for other people, this is probably the one I want to do the most. I like the idea of, for example, wealth, having enough of it so that later in my life I can give it all away. There's no point going to the grave with bags of coins. I don't know. what are you going to do with it? Nothing. Give it out while you're alive. I also like the idea of, I could give everything I have now, but I feel like with everything that I've currently got, I could build that into an even bigger amount and then give it. I feel like that might give better value later down the line. So I do see generosity being a bigger part of my life down the line. I can also give other things I have to others. It doesn't have to be physical things. It can be just my time and my attention and empathy and all of that. That's a lot to give as well. So I think on a spiritual level, I can do that more. Fun. To play and have fun. Yeah, that's always going to be there. At least it's not like specifically pleasure, for example, just for the sake of feeling good. To actually play and have fun with others, that's I think a very, very, very important part of life. Friendship, to have close supportive friends. I've got really good close supportive friends at the moment, but I feel like I need more. I can grow more, find more new people, connect with people in ways that I probably haven't felt connected before. I think I can find that. Freedom, to be free from undue restrictions and limitations. I guess that goes a little bit in the non-conformity, in terms of challenging authority, but I think the real freedom is recognizing the freedom that I have, not by trying to find new freedom and try to remove my current limitations. More freedom from my own procrastination would be a good one. But yeah, I wanted to also say on the topic of friendship, in terms of having close supportive friends, community is so important. It's like a vital part. Kids outside playing in the park. I'd say friendship is so important, to have that community, a sense of community. I don't think you can survive without it. Forgiveness, to be forgiving of others. This is a big one. I think going through life without blaming anyone and having a sense of forgiveness is the only way that you'll actually be at peace with yourself. So I think this one might be a higher priority, depending on how my life experience goes. Flexibility, to adjust to new circumstances easily. There's a degree of that is important, probably even more important than freedom in a certain sense, to know, what restrictions there are, where it is I'm going in life. Having the flexibility to adjust to it, I think is important. Ecology, to live in harmony with the environment. This one goes without saying. Again, I'm not an active social justice warrior who's aiming to change the world and restore, nature, but I obviously see it as very important. Courtesy, to be considerate and polite towards others. I think there's a degree of courtesy which is probably unnecessary. I think just by being British, by being polite, I have a filter on in my brain which is just courteous, if that's the right word. But I think it can also be restricting if you're too courteous. I think the real people who find a lot of success are the ones who don't have to necessarily obey these courtesies, and they just they follow their path, they go down their line, and they don't care what other people think. So I think you have to moderate the amount of courtesy you have. Cooperation, to work collaboratively with others. This one to me is even more important than necessarily, what was the other one? Leadership. I'd say cooperation is better than leadership, because one thing is to inspire and guide others, another thing is to work collaboratively. I think you need obviously a bit of both if you're working with a team of people, to try to push not just yourself, but as a group, as a collective, to push yourselves forward. So cooperation, I think it also falls in line a little bit with friendship. There's cooperation there, obviously. Contribution, to make a lasting contribution in the world. I think that one just happens naturally, the same way that I think leisure just happens naturally once you've got the other values in control and in order. Compromise, to be willing to give and take in reaching agreements. There's a degree of compromising here and there. I think if you're going into situations thinking that it has to be a fair trade, giving and taking in equal amounts, you're going to be limited. And later in this list, we'll see the difference between being loved and loving. You should be able to give without expecting anything in return. So that's why I don't put compromise any higher. Complexity, to embrace the intricacies of life. I think that also comes with the flexibility. Compassion, to feel and act on concern for others, something which I find that I need to grow in my life, or I don't know why I feel the need to, but I just feel calling for it at the moment, is to become more empathic, reading more psychological literature on how to be more empathic towards others, and opening myself up to yeah, being more empathic and more compassionate towards others is crucial. I think critical part of being a human being, a decent, well-rounded human being, is one who can listen and support others. So, of course, that's going to be a big part of my life. Comfort, to have a pleasant and comfortable life. Again, I believe this one happens naturally as soon as I get the other more important values in order. Challenge, to take on difficult tasks and problems. So, challenge is important, but I don't want to revolve my whole life around it. I feel like that could create a lot of stress. Caring, to take care of others, goes without saying. And also, if you're feeling a bit low at the moment and you feel like you're just on a negative loop, at least from my own personal experience, I found that I could never take care of myself until I started thinking about taking care of others first. You don't know how to care, and you don't learn how to care for yourself if you haven't first learned how to care for others. So if you find yourself in a negative loop mentally, care for other people, put other people first. Make your top priority to make sure other people are happy and that other people do not suffer. And the more that you do that for other people, the more you realize you can do that for yourself. So you should take care of yourself like you would take care for other people. But if you don't know how to take care of other people, you don't know how to take care of yourself. So do that first. Belonging, to have a sense of belonging and being part of, just like I said, community, crucial. Beauty, to appreciate beauty around me. Have a fear of missing out or not appreciating the beauty that's already around me, so I've got to be more attentive to it. So important, so important. Attractiveness, to be physically attractive. I'm going to the gym, I'm getting buff, man. I do want to be physically attractive. Not much I can do to change my face at the moment, but I can make my body stronger. I can be healthier, which is also on the list. Art, to appreciate or express myself in art. So that's part of the beauty. To be able to also express art, to express a degree of beauty, something I do very much look forward to. I think art also ties into part of the creative dimension that I'm trying to incorporate into my life. I'm not doing such a good job at the moment, but I do hope that I do kick that off one day, and I think it's going to be a part of it. Adventure, to have new and exciting experiences. I separate this one from the other one, like novelty seeking. I think there's a degree of adventure, like traveling and doing exciting activities and exploring. I think there's just a natural part of us as humans to want to do that. Accuracy, to be correct in my opinions and beliefs. You know, there are different definitions for what is accurate, whether it applies to opinions and beliefs or whether they can even be accurate. There's no reason for me to put this any lower on the list, but I'm not there someone like, oh, I'm so rationally, scientifically minded, I'm accurate in everything that I think I'm correct. I used to fall down that path a little bit mentally, like the way I was thinking was correct and other people didn't know what they were saying, but the more I learnt, the more I realised I don't know anything. So, to be accurate, what does that really mean? And then there's acceptance, to be accepted as I am. Now, there's a difference between being accepted and to accept myself. To be accepted relies on other people to accept me, but to accept myself, I am the only individual that has to, be taken into consideration, and I only have control over my own actions and thoughts and beliefs and opinions, and a lot of them I don't, but I have to. But with other people, that's absolutely impossible. So acceptance isn't that high on the list, although it's obviously important. And the most important value that I gave 3 out of 5 is passion, which is to have deep feelings about ideas, activities, or people. And I think the reason I separate this from the rest is that I know that this is an absolutely critical part for me to find my own state of flow in life and my own sense of success. The reason I don't put it high is because I feel like it's going to come naturally with time with the other values that I'm prioritizing a bit more. But I know it will be a big part of my life once I do get it. Entering the 4s out of 5s. Stability, to have a life that stays fairly consistent. And like I mentioned earlier, about having certain boundaries in place by having fixed goalposts and knowing what variables you're measuring. Like, for example, one variable I measure is make sure I make 1 video a week. That's something that's measurable, and that's something that I want to keep fairly consistent, like stability would demand. I feel like there's a lot of growth from that. Spirituality, to grow and mature spiritually. I put that one over God's will because I think, God is a word, a concept that everyone has in their mind, but spirituality, I think, is something that we can experience without necessarily needing to label it as God. I guess we label it as spirituality. I don't know. I feel like there's more to the spirit than there is to just God. I might be wrong. Self-knowledge, to have a deep and honest understanding of myself. I'm trying to do that right now. Self-esteem, to feel good about myself. I think that comes also with the self-acceptance, which I gave a 5 out of 5, spoiler alert. Self-control, to be disciplined in my own actions. So all of these self ones have a deep and understanding of myself, honest understanding of myself, to feel good about myself, to be disciplined in my own actions. The reason that these are so much more important to me than, necessarily like being generous to others or, ecology or world peace is I know that I will have a lot more to offer down the line if I work on myself first. So there's a lot for me to learn here. And I feel like these 3 self ones in a row is already like, oh, it's too much for my brain to handle. So I've got a lot to work on, I know. Responsibility, to make and carry out responsible decisions. Absolutely. The time that I was happiest in my life, I was also very responsible. So that's obviously going to be a huge part. Provide, to provide for and take care of my family. Now that one's to me more important than protecting. I can provide, I can take care of my family, but I don't want to be overprotective. Got to give them the individual freedom for each family member to do what they want. But I will always find, I think, a lot of fulfillment from being able to provide. Order, to have a life that is well ordered and organized. I've already got a degree of orderliness inside me, I know I do. I'm not very industrious, which I also want to prioritize, but in terms of orderliness, yeah, I know I have that, like keeping things organized, just naturally. I've got that built within me. Music, to enjoy and express myself in music. I love music so much. I don't know who doesn't. Very few people go their lives without appreciating it. And expressing myself is part of the art that I was talking about and the ideas that I've got for expressing my creativity in the future. Music's a big part of that as well. Monogamy, to have one close, loving relationship. I've given a lot of consideration to polyamory versus monogamy. I've given a lot of thought to both sides of the argument and how open you can keep a relationship. I still think, based on my own intuition, I guess, that I will probably find a lot more fulfillment in monogamy in my life. I do like the idea of having one close, loving relationship with all of its ups and downs, but to grow as a group instead of just individually and selfishly, to actually be as a team more than just 2 individuals, almost like we're a multiplication of individuals together. I do think a long-term monogamous relationship is going to provide more fulfillment than a life that's, not got that. I feel like there's something special about it, and I can't put it into words. It's just an intuition I have, I guess. I do believe that I want a long-term close relationship more than I do a lot of open ones. Most people are different these days, and it's more and more difficult to be monogamous in our modern day and age. Really difficult to be monogamous, particularly with all the dating apps and safe sex and gender equality. Not to say that gender inequality is right, I'm not saying that. It's just very difficult to express an opinion about this sort of thing, but there's a lot of modesty that's been lost over time as we've given people more sexual freedom. People are less modest, and I think that plays a big part into being monogamous. Anyway, I'll move on from this point. Loving and loved. You see, loved is to be loved by those that are close to me, and loving is to give love to others. What happens with one and the other, the difference is where the control is. One you have control over, which is being able to give love to others. That's in your hands. But to be loved, that's not in your hands. That depends on other people. So I think loving is more important than to be loved, but they're almost the same in terms of importance, in terms of feeling happy and fulfilled in life. But yeah, loving's more important in my opinion. Knowledge. To learn and contribute valuable knowledge. I feel like this is something I'm going to get better and better at as I get older. But I also think there's a good chance that 8 years from now, for example, the way that I think is going to be completely different. The way that most people think will be completely different. And the video that I'm making right now isn't, like eternal and stands the test of time. I don't I don't have that expectation from my own videos and my own work. So to contribute valuable knowledge is something that I feel like is constantly changing and fleeting, but as long as I have that self-knowledge and it helps me, I think that's why I give knowledge a lot of importance. Intimacy, to share my innermost experience with others. I've recently opened up to some of my closest friends about some of the deepest and darkest parts of me that I haven't shared to anyone else, and I don't know if I ever could, but to be open and honest allows me to reframe my thoughts and my perceptions, and it allows me to grow a lot more as a human, as opposed to just keeping it as ephemeral thoughts stuck in my head, just bouncing between different neurons with different hormonal chemistries and chemical soups going on in your brain. To actually express it to other people, to reveal the most innermost experiences that I've had, allows me to concretize my thoughts. It allows me to stop keeping these loops open in my head and actually close them. So intimacy is an absolutely critical part that I'm going to need in my life, I know it. Intelligence, to keep my mind sharp and active, also comes hand in hand with knowledge, but I know that if I do manage to find flow with my life, I think I'm naturally going to keep my mind sharp and active. So I feel like this is all a recipe. Let's say all of these different personal values that you can have is all a recipe for how I expect it. Maybe it's too many expectations, but from my memory of how life was great in a state of flow when I was younger, this is something I assume that will be very important and natural to me. Industry, to work hard and well at my life tasks. I've already mentioned this earlier. I need to be more industrious. I need to work harder. I need to be more focused and procrastinate less. Hope, to maintain a positive and optimistic outlook. I'm very hopeful. I've been optimistic since I was 21. I'm 23 now, and life is so much better than being pessimistic. Oh my god. Health, to be physically well and healthy. More important than attractiveness is to actually be healthy, to actually have a strong immune system, to take cold showers and all of those things. And physically, being attractive is an indicator that I'm actually physically healthy. So health first. Genuineness, act in a manner that is true to who I am. This is something I think I'm going to constantly be discovering, but I think it's something that the more genuine I am, the more I trust myself. And I'm slowly getting there, although it's a slow process at first. Fitness, to be physically fit and strong. Don't need to talk about that. Family, to have a happy, loving family. I've already talked about that. Faithfulness, to be loyal and true in relationships. This one is so important to me. The trustworthiness, the honesty, the faithfulness, they all go hand in hand in hand. Dependability, to be reliable and trustworthy. I like this one a lot. I like to be able to think, if I say I can do something or help someone, that I fulfill that. I like that idea. Curiosity, to seek out, experience and learn new things. I've got a mind that's naturally curious and open and imaginative. Creativity, to create new things or ideas. That's already talked about it. Courage, to be brave and strong in the face of adversity, something I am trying to grow and improve more in my life at the moment. Commitment, to make enduring, meaningful commitments. Yes, I guess part of the dependability as well. And now into the top values that I rated 4 out of 5. Duty, to carry out my duties and obligations. Yeah, more important than industriousness, but I've made myself the duty of making a video a week, so I want to commit to that obligation. Diligence, to be thorough and conscientious in whatever I do. That's very important, to be very mindful while I'm doing these actions, what I'm trying to achieve and what I am achieving with them. Virtue, to live a morally pure and excellent life. This is just by following this list. I will be virtuous naturally. I hope I do. Mastery, to be competent in my everyday activities. This one is, I think, the crucial key element to flow. The only reason I don't put it higher on the list is because it's something that I don't feel like I have complete control over at the moment, but something that I'll naturally achieve down the line. Like virtue as well, I think I'll naturally achieve it down the line. Into the 5 out of 5 values. Simplicity, to live simple with minimal needs. Very similarly to having stability in my life, the simplicity I think is the key element here. to reduce the amount of variables that can govern my happiness, and to find joy in the simple things. Self-acceptance, to accept myself as I am. There was lower on the list self-knowledge, self-esteem and self-control, but the self-acceptance one I think is the key piece to click everything else into its place. This is something that I probably will never achieve in my life, but I think equally that makes me recognize just how important it is. Moderation, to avoid excesses and find a middle ground, very similar to the simplicity. I ate a lot of chocolate today. I kind of regret that. Yeah, should have moderated it. Mindfulness, to live conscious and mindful of the present moment. Wow, it's the more I meditate, the more I realize just how important it is. Inner peace, to experience personal peace. All of these values I look at, and it's like my brain just immediately knows, yeah, like exactly. That's what my brain thinks when I say these values. Out of all the things on this list, everything that's in the 5 out of 5, my brain just automatically thinks exactly. And I don't even know how to explain it into words. I just know that it's what I need. Independence, to be free from depending on others. I'll touch on this more a bit later in the list. Humility, to be modest and unassuming. Now, these ones are just like very obvious virtues to have. There's honesty, to be honest and truthful. I already mentioned before, it's so critical. Gratitude, to be thankful and appreciative. So these last 3 is like being modest, unassuming, honest, truthful, thankful, appreciative. Almost go without saying, but I think equally I just need to keep reminding myself, because it's so easy for me to get stuck in my own mental egotistical loop that I don't practice these things. But these I know are crucial. Autonomy, to be self-determined and independent, which is why I didn't go into it when I mentioned independence earlier. The happiest time of my life was when I was in a state of flow between the age of 12 and 14, and I was autonomous. I was self-driven, self-determined. I was independent. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, what I needed to do, and I just did it. Purpose, to have meaning and direction in my life. It doesn't get more obvious than this. Purpose, meaning, fulfillment. Those are the key crucial elements that I need to focus on. Put a point that is inflexible and move towards that no matter what. Integrity, to live my daily life in a way that is consistent with my values. One of the first things that goes through my mind when I say integrity is KSI, knowledge, strength, integrity. Integrity, that's a huge one. To live my daily life in a way that is consistent with my values. So important. So important. I need to remind myself of particularly these ones and also the passion down there. I'm actually going to go to the library and print them. I believe that at some point down the line in the future, when reconsidering my old videos, I'm probably going to be able to recognize some values that I'll prioritize more, some that I'll prioritize less, but I think I'll also realize how correct or accurate I was in which ones bring me fulfillment in my life, if I do reach a point where I feel more fulfilled. This is my list of 100 values which I read in a book, and I think it's going to be different for other people. I think there are very few people who are going to watch through this video and even care about what I'm saying. I'm a little bit selfish at the moment, as you can see, always focusing on myself, and I feel like these videos are mostly just for me, which is a very important thing. If your audience for your own videos is just one person, you're never going to feel pressured to impress others. You're just doing it for yourself, and you can make videos. If you always feel pressured to impress others, you're probably not going to make videos unless you've hit certain criteria in your mind. You can remove that stress by only making videos for your audience of one, which is yourself, which is why I'm consistent. Yeah, on track so far. Just going to go through the most important values again. So passion, leave it all come naturally as I am more masterful over my actions. I believe virtue also comes with the practicing of all of these values. Diligence and duty going hand in hand in terms of actually practicing what I need to be doing at the moment. Simplicity and moderation to avoid excess. Self-acceptance, I think, is only going to happen once I do everything else. Same way, yeah, that I think inner peace will also come after. I feel like there's a progression between these different values and which ones I have to do first, like the diligence and duty and the autonomy I have to do naturally, and then I feel like the rest will come with it. I think a big piece of the puzzle is the mindfulness, as I try to practice it more and more in my daily life by reading new books and becoming more aware of it, and to practice more meditation. Independence and autonomy, yeah, I don't want to be reliant on others. Gratitude, honesty, humility, these three going hand in hand. If you were truly consistent and always had these values at the forefront of your mind in your approach to engaging in life and with others, I'm talking to myself here, but yeah, I feel like my life would be better and other people's lives would be better. Purpose, I need to define it. I feel like this is something I can work on now and work towards it with diligence and duty and autonomy. But if I define purpose, I feel like all these other ones are going to start clicking into place. And integrity, to live my daily life in a way that is consistent with my values. I should get that tattooed. Integrity. Alright, thanks for watching this long ass video, longest video I've made. Long rant, lots of values, a lot to consider. Thanks for watching.